Hi, welcome to the next channel. So ever since I started my open source project on WAN optimization, let it be a decade ago on TrafficSqueezer, and then recently I forked, as you know, into the TOFFEE project. So I often get these questions from viewers across the world, in fact even from my clients. Yesterday, for example, I had a discussion with one of my client, and he too mentioned and he too asked what is the difference between Riverbed and Silver Peak versus things which happen in TOFFEE or TOFFEE-DataCenter, or else much earlier TrafficSqueezer. So it is a sort of confusion I mentioned several times in the mail to these guys, or else whenever I had a discussion with them, either it is a case like yesterday 1:1, or else a case like in some kind of a forum and stuff like that. So still this is a sort of FAQ I often get. So I thought today let me just address the same once for all in this video, so that in case if anyone asks this question in the future, they can just refer this video and then they can get an idea around the same. So to put forward the things in the perspective, you should understand Riverbed or Silver Peak are like end products. You can directly buy them and then you can directly deploy them in your system or your network infrastructure, and you can use it from day one. Versus if you consider the TOFFEE or TOFFEE-DataCenter or else the earlier TrafficSqueezer, you should understand the more focus it is all about. It's a network stack, just like you have the kernel. Just with the kernel alone, you can't use an operating system. So you have various distributions like Ubuntu, Fedora and stuff like that. So if you want to use the Linux kernel, you need to use either of this operating system distribution or the platform. Even it is a case like Android, you should understand even Android has Linux below the main as a part of Android kernel. So this is what it is in the case of TOFFEE as well. So TOFFEE is a sort of network stack which provides various tools so that you can build your own WAN optimization devices. So earlier I used to support end users also, and people who are into a chain of companies having various sites and stuff like that. So they want to optimize their networks and they used to approach me, so I directly used to address the same. But recently I stopped doing the same and started focusing more and more on OEMs, because there is no point giving a support to retail users, end users, because they may have each time they may have a weird different requirement and it doesn't works out in a much economic sense, because they may have very unique use case, and if I change the entire stack for them for their specific purpose, although they may pay sometimes or they may sometimes ask for a discount and stuff like that, it doesn't work well because it takes a lot of time and they are just using it for one specific use case. But if I address or work along with OEMs, it works in a different way, because OEM builds their products and they can support WAN optimization into the same, and then they can literally distribute to many users. So sometimes they can even have a specific WAN opt sort of a modules in their existing CP devices or else some kind of network appliances, and then they can have this WAN optimization features into the same. So this is what it provides, a sort of a platform. So this is what is the difference. I can say what is the difference between Silver Peak or Riverbed versus something like TOFFEE. So I never consider, you people may think they are like some competitors or something like that. I don't ever think them as competitors. You should understand there is no comparison between something like that versus something like TOFFEE. So which is why I got a few things on my desk, so that I can even better sort of illustrate what is the exact difference is all about. So if you think about some of the Indian spices, hope you know we Indians use a lot of spices. So if you think like that, you must have come across the garam masala we use. So this is one brand we get in India. This is Everest garam masala. There are so many brands you can buy. So this constitutes so many assortment of spices. So if you put in specific ratio and there is a specific process, some you can roast and put, some you can put as it is, and then if you grind everything together and then you get this mixed spice. powder. So this is what generally they use it for many dishes, and then in general, although they make their custom masalas, they may add this as well. So you should understand this is your Riverbed or Silver Peak to give as an example. So sometimes I buy, or me or my wife, we buy this and then we use it for our dishes. But sometimes we do have elemental spices, we just use them, and then we need it some specific cases, we just powder these spices and we need it in our curries as well. So to give an example, I got this these spice jars which we use it in our kitchen. So this as you can see, my wife labeled as chili powder. So this is our paprika powder. This we do ourselves, we don't generally buy from the store something like this. Even this brand sells paprika powder. The problem with the chili powders or paprika powder you buy branded ones is they generally don't roast the chilies, dry chilies. So those who are from countries who never seen chilies are these dry red chilies which we buy from the store like this. Please understand there is no brand for this. In general, any grocery store in India you go, you can buy these chilies. You can generally have a look, you can sense its quality by its look, color and age and other stuff, and then you can buy them by weight or something like that. So we buy the same, and then we dry it for a few days, and then we roast it, and then we mill it. There will be some shops will be available. Generally you can take your stuff and then they can mill it and give you, and then once it is milled, it is quite hot. Because of that friction, whatever in the milling process, you need to dry them in the open air, and then you can start filling it and keep it for a long-term storage. And some quantity you can fill in this way, and then you can use it in your everyday from your everyday spice jars like this. So this is how I should give a comparison between something like Riverbed and Silver Peak versus something like Toffee, or much earlier the TrafficSqueezer. So similar thing, I would like to show another example. So this is the turmeric powder which we use, and this time it is a store bought one. This is not done by us, but we do have also this dried up turmeric roots. So people who don't know about from where turmeric comes, or in India we say as we call it as turmeric. So it comes from this dried up roots, and I do have a turmeric plant as well in my home. Sometimes if I do any chicken grill, or sometimes if I do any biryanis, we do take fresh root from the pot, and then we grind, or we can grate, and then we can put as well. So you should understand, this is what I deal every day with Toffee data center or Toffee in a way to put things in perspective, versus if you go with Riverbed or Silver Peak, suppose you have a CPE in your product range. If you want to put any WAN optimization feature, from where you can go to Riverbed and get their product and fit into your product. So you should understand there is no comparison at all. So it is just a silly thing to compare something like Riverbed versus something like Toffee as well. And moreover, you should not get into a picture as if they are some competitors of my technology, all this bullshit as well. So should understand it's a complete different ball game. They are providing an entire package, something like this. They are providing an entire package, something like this, where in which you don't need to deal all that mess, what you need to go forward. As I said, although it looks so simple, the paprika powder, it is lot many steps are involved, and moreover, if you are interested to add some preset spices in the same, we also have a variant of another paprika powder. This we use in some of the traditional curries. Usually we say as a masala chili powder. So this is also an assortment of spices, where in which it contains a lot of turmeric, as well as of course chilies, and then cumin and mustard, and lot of assortment of other spices. So the advantage of this is it is so much amalgamous, and it is going to have lot more richer flavor, versus you use something both of these together. So again, this is something in a way I can describe this way, because once again their confusion is something when they compare a ready to use product versus something a network stack like TOFFEE. So if you understand, always I mentioned in my demo videos about each module or each feature in TOFFEE, saying that what is that specific module does and what is the use case of that specific module. Let it be about just compression or else packaging, deduplication and stuff like that. If it is deduplication, it does a lot of application specific optimization, and again it also depends on each case of my customer or vendor, whoever you uses it in a specific deployment. Suppose you need to optimize a lot of remote desktop versus you need to optimize a lot of Oracle sessions or some kind of database and stuff like that. So sometimes they will give me the sample data, and based on the sample data I do customize the dictionaries for doing the deduplication and stuff like that. So you should understand this is what I deal with TOFFEE. There is no comparison with TOFFEE versus something like Riverbed or something like that. They are all ready to use commercial products, wherein which you cannot just segregate them and take that stack and then put into your stuff. This is somewhat like that. So that is what it is. So in my case, suppose there may be a specific case, somebody may need TOFFEE on a small CP having very limited CPU resources. Someone else may say that I need TOFFEE on a very huge server with gigabit network ports and stuff like that. Or else I may get somebody else saying that I have some kind of hardware compression cards. So can you support TOFFEE to use these compression cards or hardware accelerator cards? And as well as somebody may say that I need encryption as well along with compression. So if you know, generally I don't do encryption because it's just waste of time. Encryption is already done in application level. Why I should do again as a part of TOFFEE? So I don't do that. Sometimes the customers may say that I need encryption as well along with compression, and I'm okay to take that overhead and stuff like that. So this is what it is. What I am doing is I'm in a sort of like a restaurant business. So the customer orders what is the combination of stuff they want as a part of their network optimization, and I then customize it and then I give it to them. And you should also note one more thing is, don't assume and don't just compare TOFFEE-DataCenter with again like some commercial product. There is no comparison at all. You should understand TOFFEE-DataCenter is like this spice mixture. Wherein which what I have done is I have done all the modules, and whichever way I want it as a part of a sample a sample product or sample solution, I have done the same. Similarly, the TOFFEE-DataCenter is also been done. So the focus is not about the TOFFEE-DataCenter. The focus is all about the module inside the TOFFEE-DataCenter. Suppose if you want, say for example, TOFFEE-DataCenter, as I said in my videos, it works like a transparent bridge, but not strictly a transparent bridge. It works like a transparent bridge. So if you have a specific scenario wherein which you have an existing device, it should run in layer 3 routing and stuff like that, and by chance you have to support WAN opt in that specific device, but it should also support routing mode. Then what I can do is I can strip away, let's assume this is your TOFFEE-DataCenter, so I can strip away the WAN opt modules what I have put inside, and then I can fit into your particular CP or your particular product, and then we can support WAN opt around that. So this is what it is. This is what I deal. This is what I offer. So don't confuse. Don't just carry away with that name and then don't get confused. So there is no comparison between Riverbed, Silver Peak versus TOFFEE-DataCenter. So this is a complete different package versus something when you use Riverbed or Silver Peak or any commercial product is completely it's a different package, wherein which it's like you buy Nutella or something like that. You don't buy you don't like Nutella's composition, the hazelnut versus cocoa powder. You need more cocoa powder and you need less hazelnut. Or if you're buying some peanut butter and you don't like their composition, they must have added more butter, they must have added more peanuts, or all this stuff. You cannot control them. What you are getting is just what they offer. So it's about it. So wherein which here it is not the case. It is like the principle of Linux ecosystem itself. And like you must have seen this funny picture. Let me keep these things away and let me show an interesting picture. So Linux cake, if you Google, you can find floor cake. Yeah, so it remains this picture. You can see here, happy 26th birthday Linux, and here is your F-ing cake. Go ahead and compile yourself or cook yourself, whatever it is. So this is what something like that. So instead of in this kind of scenario, what I have done is I have done a sort of working prototype with the TOFFEE data center, a sort of variant of Toffee. And then, by the way, people who are still confused about what happened to Toffee is I almost kind of stopped the development of Toffee, because I feel in all aspects the Toffee data center is much better and much more versatile than Toffee, and there is no point doing something like a WAN opt in the kernel space anymore. So I kind of stopped entirely working on Toffee. So from now on, if I say generally Toffee, you can assume it is Toffee data center itself. So that's what it is. So it remains a picture like this. So this is what it is. So how can you compare this with some kind of ready to eat product, something like Riverbed or Silver Peak? And moreover, if you go to my website as well, there is this newly I have put this picture, the entire ecosystem of Toffee or the Toffee project. So you can understand from this picture, the Toffee data center or Toffee project is not something floated in the sky and then dropped off in my entire website. You should understand, to make something like this possible, I have to do a lot of research. I need to have a lot of gadgets and I need to have a lot of test equipment. So this is the reason I have mentioned many times in my videos saying that Toffee data center, from the beginning, I am only supporting as paid support. I am not interested writing lengthy documentation and sitting with each and every email saying that you just do this changes and then you can install it in your system, all this wasting time. So from day one, I'm mentioning that it will be only supported as a paid support, because it takes a lot of effort in terms of putting in and even in terms of developing, and it doesn't make sense anymore in terms of economic sense that I do sit and then keep supporting. And then I used to get, even during TrafficSqueezer days, I used to get often emails saying that although I have published the installation steps, generally people do ask, saying that still I am not getting this, something not working here, something not working there. So all this is not something going to work economic, it doesn't make any sort of economic sense. And moreover, I have two choices: either to sustain this project, or else I need to abandon this project and find myself a full-time permanent job and work somewhere else. So what is the thing I have chosen is to stick in this model for some more time, and then keep it in a way that I get that sort of economical backing as well. At the same time, it justifies for the time spent, for research, for the time spent for development and stuff like that. So that is why I put this diagram. So this diagram explains pretty much the entire ecosystem. Either you sit and understand this ecosystem and you are a part of this ecosystem, versus you can completely abandon this and then you can find other choices. So this is what it is. I don't see anyone who is serious enough to do WAN opt research and put forward the research in the to the public in the first case. So I'm not seeing anybody have done so far. So this is what is my main objective is. The main objective of TrafficSqueezer or Toffee itself is all about its ground up research. It's just not about something you put and install and then it just optimizes and something like that. It's not that. If you want something like that, why do you need to come with me? You can go with any of the existing commercial solution. Who is stopping you? So this is what it is. And moreover, there are also other cheaper alternatives in case if you want only software alone version. You don't need any product like Riverbed where you have hardware or something. You can find like WAN OS and many solution providers are there. Why do you need to come with me? So this is what it is. So in what way, every time I get a mail, and moreover I get a sense like they sort of compare like as if they are some competitors or something. It's just bullshit. It is not the way it works at all. I'm not at all putting myself in that basket at all. So it is like that. And So that's why I mentioned recently this ecosystem. You can see here to do TOFFEE-DataCenter and Toffee, or else the Toffee Butterscotch. Unfortunately, the Butterscotch is still in the beginning stages. It doesn't literally have anything in its place. So maybe down the lane I may completely dust it out and I may change its architecture, or else I may do complete redo of its code and other stuff. So for now, let's ignore the Butterscotch. If you consider all these components needs research, as a part of research you have the TrueBench, so that TrueBench decides you what sort of appliance you can build, and to build that appliance what sort of an hardware you need. If you are building with an ARM processor, what is the power you need? If you are building with x86 something like SoC, or something like Intel Xeon server, what is the performance required per core processor and stuff like that. You can take all these decisions. It's not only just about building your Toffee device. Let us assume you are building some firewall product. Even in such use cases, you can use TrueBench for the same. And in fact, if you visit the TrueBench website, I have mentioned in the beginning, its main purpose of TrueBench is a benchmarking tool for product architects, OEM, product manufacturers, CEOs and CTOs to evaluate a specific hardware platform such as CPU or SoC for design and development or manufacture of a commercial product. So this is the objective of TrueBench. It is not you compare these CPUs for playing games and all this such trivial stuff. So understand why there is TrueBench exists. So this is a part of its research, and then you have that education. So as a part of education, I shoot this Linux channel videos as well as the free BST channel. You should understand, without having a solid understanding of the things, without having that knowledge, how can you make some WAN of product? So this is what it is. So as a part of its ecosystem, you should have proper research and proper study and knowledge as well. So that is why you have this education. Everything looks confusing in the first go. If you think why this person is into so many things, maybe he is confused or something. Please understand, you have to make something, you should have something behind him. So that's what it is. So you have this education, and then you have various tools like in the tools I have mentioned the Toffee Mocha and Toffee Soft Server, and a couple of more I'm actually working. I didn't mention anywhere. I may release sometime in the future. So one of the tools is the Toffee Mocha. So Toffee Mocha is a WAN emulation solution which I have done. So with that you can do a WAN emulator device wherein which you can limit its packets, you can introduce jitter, you can introduce packet drops and various things with Toffee Mocha. So without having a WAN emulator, how can I do WAN optimization solution itself? So this is what it is. I never find any proper WAN emulators in the internet. I have seen some WAN and couple of solutions, but still it is not something it is trying to address my requirements. And then I thought let me do myself with some scripts and all. I never liked any of the Linux existing QoS scripts like with the TC and all that. So I have done my own WAN emulator so that I can test various situations. I can try especially jitter and other cases like that, and then I can see how it performs in these kind of situations. I can emulate satellite networks, I can emulate long distance marine or in-flight networks and stuff like that with Toffee Mocha. So without having the tools, how can I do WAN optimization solutions? You should understand. So this is what it is. So end of the day, if you want to use Toffee as a platform, understand it has a huge ecosystem and it has a huge research and other stuff going behind the scenes, and then you are choosing it because you need to build, you need to make something like this by yourself, and you are not into something like getting this. So if you want this, go with Riverbed. If you want to do this, do by yourself. And you want to manufacture a product, this is meant for OEMs. As I said in the ecosystem over here, for end of the day objective is OEMs and product vendors can use this platform and then they can make their own WAN opt solutions. And in case if they don't want to use any of the Toffee components or modules inside the Toffee data center or something like that, at least they can use my research and knowledge base, and then they can come up with their own solution from scratch. So this is what is the objective. I don't mind even if they don't use Toffee. Please understand, I do work as a consultant, I do work as an architect, for few of my clients. So in that way also it works out. I don't mind if they don't use Toffee. Please understand. So never I consider anyone who is criticizing or comparing Toffee or with any commercial solution. That is not the point at all. So this is why I mentioned end of the day that TOFFEE Data Center, all these components are assisting product engineering, architecture and deployment of the same. And this in turn, end of the day, it is assisting the OEMs and the product vendors so that they can manufacture their own network appliances, and then they can use these components directly or indirectly, or else they can use any of the tools, and then they can make their own tools. Suppose if some of my clients are not using Toffee or TOFFEE Data Center, still they may use Toffee Mocha, and then they can build any network appliances. So this is what is the overall objective. So if you are thinking that I am giving yet another open source product and project, and a guy who is sitting somewhere in the remote corner or else somewhere in India and doing this stuff and all this stuff, just don't put me in that basket. Just take that assumption out of your mind. Please understand, this is not about that. Understand my ecosystem, and this is a large agenda. This is not something like you get yet another open source and then take this and then compare it with other stuff. This is not that agenda at all. Something if you are finding Toffee is not addressing your specific needs, you can add some components, you can remove some components based on your requirements, you can build according to your specific use case. You can do any specific customization. Suppose you have something like long distance communication, something like space networks and stuff like that, you can do your own customization, you can do your own modules, you can insert into them, and then you can make it as a part of your existing ecosystem or existing product line and stuff like that. So this is a far more bigger agenda. The focus is not the entire, that's why I mentioned the website or the main title of the website itself as the TOFFEE Project, which means it encompasses all this stuff as a part of its ecosystem. I didn't mention as just toffee.org or some TOFFEE-DataCenter.org. It is called as the TOFFEE Project because it mentions that it's an entire ecosystem, just not some one specific module or something within the same. So to conclude the same, if you are going with the Riverbed or Silver Peak, what you are getting is this, which is completely ready to use product. And if you are choosing the TOFFEE Data Center or the TOFFEE Project ecosystem, what you are getting is these, and with which the TOFFEE Data Center is an sample implementation of the same using these base ingredients, and then I have done a sample integration of all these modules which I have done, and then I have made a sort of working proof that it works in a sort of neat choreographed manner, and it is addressing various stuffs and stuff like that. And in case if you want to make something like this, a paprika powder alone, then you can just dump this, use this and make this. So this is what it is. So that is what it is. It is a huge ecosystem. Try to understand. Don't waste your time comparing it with something else. Don't waste your time comparing with yet another open. Either let's forget about commercial project and don't yourself compare this with another open source projects as well. So this is not that sort of a stuff at all. This is not that sort of a package at all. So hope you guys loved watching this video. In case if you have any questions, be in touch via mail. So thank you once again for watching this video. Stay tuned. Have a nice day. Bye bye.